Hello, my name is Julia Uchley, and today we're going to be talking about social media and how it relates to our communication, relationship skills, and mental health. So, for our agenda today, I'm just going to introduce you guys to digital wellness and what it means. And then I have 3 learning objectives catered to each different subject and how all of them relate to social media. And then we will go over a little review. I'll give you some resources and then we'll conclude. So for some objectives and outcomes, I want to discuss how social media use impacts our communication skills, relationship development, and our mental health. There's a huge difference in generations like mine who were raised with technology and social media, and generations like those of my parents and grandparents who were not. The ways that we communicate, develop our relationships, and our mental health issues are all very different. And I feel like social media is a big cause of that. So we'll go through each learning objective. We'll discuss some terminology, some vocabulary, and how they connect with the concepts that exist in the world of digital wellness. So I will also provide you with some tools, practical tips, and resources to help you to improve your digital health and to flourish alongside your social media use and your technology. So, first of all, what is digital wellness? Well, the Digital Wellness Institute defines it as an optimum state of health and well-being that each individual using technology is capable of achieving. And that is one of the things that I love so much about digital wellness is that it is attainable and possible for everyone with the right resources and tools. So it is also a way of life that while using technology, promotes optimal health and well-being in which all the body, mind, and spirit are integrated by the individual to live more fully within the human, natural, and digital communities. So this little chart over here is the digital flourishing wheel developed by the Digital Wellness Institute. And I like to think of this chart as sectors of life. So everyone who uses technology deals with all of these sections in their life, typically on a day-to-day basis. And so today we're going to go through this section on the bottom right-hand side, the communication, relationship, and mental health sections. So for the first learning objective is that social media has the power to improve or harm our communication skills and practices. So I have a couple of key terms here. I have the right to disconnect. So that is just the basic human right that we all have to log off. So our culture now is termed as an always on culture. And what that means is that we are a culture that is so saturated with social media that it's almost kind of expected of us to always be logged on and interacting on platforms when we really do have the right to disconnect and log off as we please. Then we also have what is called Zoom fatigue. That is just the fatigue that we feel after video calling all day. Now, since the pandemic, remote work is so popular and needed. And Zoom is a large tool that is used for work, but it can also really wear us out if we don't take intentional and mindful breaks from it. And I feel like that also ties in with social media, with our always on culture that we are living in. It's difficult to feel energized throughout the day and to not feel like a zombie from looking at a screen all day. So Zoom fatigue does apply to things like video calling and Zoom, but it also does apply to social media use as well. So I have a little question for you all. I want you to ask yourself, do you feel that technology and social media has helped you to improve your communication skills? If yes, are these skills relevant both in online communication and offline? So I want you to ask yourself that, write out a detailed answer just to reflect and to see how you truly feel about social media influencing your communication practices. So next we have relationships. So social media can improve, create, and sustain your relationships if used intentionally. Those last 3 words are key here. Social media can be a great thing for our relationships if we use it with intentionality, with mindfulness, and we go into it understanding what we want to get out of it. So some key terms here, we have phubbing. That is when you are in a conversation with someone and this thing lights up, and the first reaction is to look at it and see what's going on. That is when your conversation is interrupted by a technological device. We also have bonding social capital. That refers to some of the stronger ties that we have established relationships with people, whereas compared to bridging social capital are weaker ties, and those are relationships that exist really solely for the purpose of sharing information. We also have media bubbles, and this refers to a bubble that we can typically be put in through the media that we consume, and it just reflects media that follows along with our ideas and beliefs and things that we already know, rather than being exposed to ideas and beliefs and concepts that are foreign to us from other people. So it puts us in this bubble of comfort of sorts. And then lastly, we have social support. Now, social support can refer to our support in relationships with people in our day-to-day lives and face-to-face, but with social media, it really refers to our online community and the people that we follow along with online, and if we have that support and that help whenever we need it through online communities. So for an interaction question, have you seen technology strengthen or weaken relationships in your own life? So take a moment to look back and reflect on your relationships and really look at the quality of relationships outside of social media use and the quality of your relationships within social media use. And in your own circumstances, just look at how it affects you and if you feel a positive effect or a negative one. Lastly, we have mental health. So social media use without mindfulness hurts our mental health. Without intention and purpose behind the way that we use social media, it can really take a toll on the way that we feel and on our mental health. So we have a lot of key terms for this one because mental health is very important with social media use. So for doom scrolling, that is just scrolling through information that is negative, disheartening, and can even be depressing. FOMO, I'm sure you know this term, that is the fear of missing out. A lot of times that comes into play with social media use. We see what other people are up to and the exciting lives that they're living. And if we feel like our lives are not up to par, we feel as though we're missing out, which can really hinder our mental health by bringing on negative feelings. Next, we have mindfulness, probably the most important key term in this whole lecture. Mindfulness is being aware and open and intentional with the way that you use your technology. And I like to think of mindfulness as my brain being fully open and aware every time I'm using social media. It is aware of what I am consuming. It is aware of my own values and beliefs and how what I'm consuming lines up with that. It is another word for mindfulness would be intentionality. Also, we have nomophobia. This is just the fear of being without your mobile phone. I feel like this is very relevant in our current generation and how a phone has to be present and right next to you at all times. And so that is just the fear of not having it. We also have phoneliness. That is the feeling of loneliness that is brought along by the use of your phone, which I feel like also ties into FOMO. We see what other people are up to, and if we're not doing those same exciting things, we feel lonely and we feel like we're missing out. We also have solitude deprivation. This one is large with social media use. This is when we are deprived of our own solitude and our quiet time with our own thoughts, free from the input of other minds. And solitude is highly important, and when we're deprived of it, our minds can seem to be a jumbled mess, which can hurt our mental health. And lastly, we have type 1 and type 2 stress. So type 1 stress is more circumstantial. It is more temporary and present-oriented, whereas type 2 stress is focused on the future. It is more chronic and long-lasting. So another question for you all is, how has social media use affected your mental health over time? Based on your answer, make a list, and are there more pros or cons to how social media influences your mental health? So make a pros and cons list of your social media use and how you feel it affects your emotions. And if there are more pros than cons, that is awesome. But if there are more cons than pros, look at it and see how we can eliminate some of those cons and really put those pros into action. So next we have a few best practices for social media use. So for communication, use social platforms to help spread helpful information, both for you and other people. Reach out to friends and family if there is no other medium of communication. So try and call or text or FaceTime someone before going to social media. Don't let social media be your first resort in reaching out to someone. And then only use social media to communicate if necessary. Check other options first. For our relationships, check on friends and family outside of social media. Again, call someone, text them, video chat, do something before reaching out to them via social media. Approach new people in person rather than DMs. I feel like this is a large point, especially in the dating world. If you're interested in someone, ask them out in person instead of sliding into their DMs. It is a much more heartfelt and memorable and meaningful interaction than just opening a direct message. Also, be genuine during interactions and be intentional while trying to deepen connections. Go into conversations, and when you want to deepen connections, go into it with intention and focused on the other person rather than just being surface level. And lastly, for mental health, take scheduled social media breaks hourly, daily, weekly, even monthly, depending on what is needed for you. I like to schedule social media breaks in my calendar so that on Fridays I'm Instagram free, on Saturdays I'm TikTok free, or sometimes I'll do a day without social media altogether. Sometimes I need to take a week, and at other times maybe a month. It's depending on your circumstances and your needs, but schedule those breaks for your own benefit to have some time away from it. Do screen-free activities that nourish all the body, mind, and soul. I like to try and practice activities for each of those categories every single day. So I'll do something for my body outside of social media. I'll go for a walk or go lift weights and exercise. I'll also do something for my mind outside of social media, like reading a book or putting together a puzzle. And then lastly, for my soul, I will give my grandmother a phone call or go out to dinner with a friend. And those are soul nourishing activities that are good for you and away from social media. Now, using your phone is okay. Like I like to listen to music when I exercise. Or if I'm putting together a puzzle, I'll have music or maybe a podcast in the background. And then I use my phone to call my grandmother or to call friends and see if they'd like to go for dinner. This is just taking a break from social media specifically. And then lastly, find rewarding activities every few days, things that are outside of your routine. So schedule a day to maybe go shopping or to spend time with a friend, something that is not in your everyday routine that you can look forward to, that is outside of social media and can give you a break from it. So a little reflection for communication. We know that this is the basis of social media use, is communication. And while it is a useful tool in online communication, it can harm our ability to communicate effectively face-to-face. So list ways that social media has empowered your communication skills and put those skills to use. For relationships, we know that social media can enable our ability to make new connections, but it can also harm our relationship skills and face-to-face interactions and relationship development. So take careful note of how social media feeds your bridging and bonding social capital in your life and slowly begin to put those practices to use. Lastly, for mental health, this is possibly the largest issue in social media dilemma, is that mental health is so influenced by online interaction. So monitor how you feel after spending time on social media. If you feel happy, sad, anxious, calm, energetic, or tired, listen to your body and pay attention. This is a TED Talk resource that I have found. It's a video on social media breaks and what they can do for you. I highly recommend you go and watch it and share. I hope everything was clear and that you don't have any questions. If you do, please ask. I really enjoyed our session, and I thank you for your attention. Here are my resources.